Use the distributive property to factor each polynomial, 12x plus 24y. So the largest factor of 12x and 24y would be 12, so we can factor 12 out. And then take 12x divided by 12 is x, so x is in parentheses. And then 24y divided by 12 is positive 2y, so we have 12 times the quantity of x plus 2y. On 40, to factor that by distributive property, the largest number that goes into 8, 16, and 10 is 2. So I will factor that out. And also notice they all contain a y. So since all the terms contain a y, I'll also factor out a y. And then divide. 8xy divided by 2y will be just 4x. The y's would cancel. Negative 16x cubed y divided by 2y. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8. We didn't factor out any x's, so it remains x cubed, and then y divided by y would cancel. And then positive 10 divided by 2 would be 5, and the y's would cancel there. So there you can see the answer is 2y times the quantity of 4x minus 8x cubed plus 5. Factor each polynomial. These are looking for checking to see if they have the distributive property factoring first, and then after that we will check for a binomial pair. So on 50 we cannot do a distributive property factor, so I will open up two sets of parentheses, and I'm looking for ways to split up x squared. That will be x and x. Factors of 20 that add up to 9 would be positive 5 and positive 4. And notice that gives me 5x and 4x for a sum of 9x. X squared plus 3x minus 18. I cannot distributive property that. So we'll go to two sets of parentheses. X squared gets split as x and x. Factors of negative 18 that add up to 3 would be positive 6 times negative 3. That multiplies to be negative 18. But that gives me inside terms of 6x and outside terms of negative 3x, which does add up to the middle term of 3x. 54 is x squared minus 6x plus 8. I cannot do a distributive property on that one. So I will open up a binomial pair, split up x squared as x and x. Factors of positive 8 that add up to negative 6 would be negative 4 and negative 2. Negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. But the inside terms is negative 4x, the outside terms is negative 2x, and that does add up to negative 6x. 56 is x squared minus 2x minus 48. I cannot do a distributive property on that, so I will open up two sets of parentheses for my binomial pair. X squared is x and x. Factors of negative 48 that will help me add up to 2x will be negative 8 and positive 6. Negative 8 times 6 equals negative 48. Negative 8x plus 6x adds up to negative 2x, so there's the correct factoring on that one. 58, art. An artist is working on a painting. If the area of the canvas is represented by x squared plus 2x minus 24, what are the dimensions of the canvas? This is asking you to factor x squared plus 2x minus 24 because a painting is rectangular. And to figure out the dimensions of the canvas, we can figure that out by factoring x squared plus 2x minus 24. We can't do a distributive property, so we'll just do binomial pair. X squared splits up into x and x. Factors of negative 24 that add up to 2 would be negative 6 and positive 4. Excuse me, I got that backwards. It's positive 6 and negative 4. And so that gives me inside terms of 6x, outside terms of negative 4x, and that does add up to positive 2x. We're still factoring on this set of problems. If it cannot be factored, write prime. So the first one is 2y squared minus 9y plus 3. So can we factor by distributive property? No, we cannot, because nothing goes into 2, 9, and 3 other than 1, and we don't factor out positive ones. So then we try to open up a binomial pair. So the only way to split up 2y squared is 2y and y. And the only way to split up positive 3 would be 3 and 1, and they should both be negative because they have to multiply to be a positive 3 but add to be a negative 9. And there is absolutely no way to put either of those numbers into this problem and get a middle term of negative 9x. Even if I take the negative 3 times the large number 2y, that only gets me down to negative 7y. So this answer is prime. 62 is 2a squared plus 13a minus 24. I cannot do a distributive property factoring on that one. So I can split up 2a squared as 2a and a. And now I'm looking for factors of negative 24 that will help add up to positive 13. So factors of negative 24 that are going to work are going to be positive 8 over here, so that it's multiplied times 2a, and negative 3 over here, so that it is multiplied times just the a. So that negative 3 times 8 is negative 24. Inside I have negative 3a. Outside I have positive 16a, which does add up to 13a. So that is the proper way to factor that one. 64, I cannot do a distributive property. Factor 2x squared, it splits it up into 2x and x. We're looking for factors of negative 20 that add up to negative 3. And let's see, let's try negative 4 over here and positive 5 over here, because that will give me 5x for my inside terms and negative 8x for my outside terms, and that does add up to my middle term of negative 3x. So we have that correctly factored. And then 66, 6x squared minus 7x minus 5. I cannot do a distributive property on that one. So when I open up my binomial pair, there are multiple ways to split up 6x squared. There is 6x and x, but there's also 3x and 2x. So let's try that one first, 3x and 2x. And then factors of negative 5 that will help me add up to equal negative 7. Factors of negative 5 would need to be, let's see, looks like negative 5 here and positive 1 here. That would give me negative 10x for my inside and positive 3x for my outside, which does add up to negative 7x. And then factoring special products, number 68 is y squared minus 81. This has no middle term, so first we look to see if we can factor by distributive property, which we cannot. So we open up a binomial pair. Y squared gets split up into y, and notice that there is no y term on this one because it is the same as saying 0y. So we're looking for factors of negative 81 that add up to 0. For negative 81, we got to use positive 9 and negative 9, and we have to use those numbers, so it adds up to 0. So we get 9 and negative 9, and that adds up to 0. 70, we cannot do a distributive property, so we're looking for factors of 16a squared. We can use 4a and 4a. And then we can try to use factors of negative 21b squared, but we're trying to get it to add up to equal 0. The only factors of negative 21b squared would be negative 3b and 7b, 7b and negative 7b and 3b, and then 1 and 21. And none of those is going to give you insides and outside terms that add up to 0. So this is prime. 72 is a squared minus 25. We cannot do a distributive property, so we're splitting up a squared as a, and again, without a middle term. We're looking for factors of negative 25 that add up to 0. So positive 5 times negative 5 multiplied to be negative 25, but you can see the insides and outside terms do add up to equal 0. Factor each polynomial if possible. If the polynomial cannot be factored, write the word prime. 74, can we do a distributive property? We cannot. So we will open up two sets of parentheses. So x and x. And factors of 36 that add up to 12x, that could be positive 6 and another positive 6. So inside is 6x, outside is 6x, so that adds up to 12x. And another way to write x plus 6 and x plus 6 would be x plus 6 squared. And then 76, 9y squared minus 12y plus 4. Can we do a distributive property? We cannot. So we factor 9y squared. One way to factor that is 3y and 3y. Factors of positive 2, that will help us add up to negative 12. Well, since it multiplies to be positive 4 but adds to be a negative 12, they both must be negative. We can use negative 2 and negative 2. That gives me negative 6y and another negative 6y, which is negative 12y. So another way of writing that would be 3y minus 2 squared.